Welcome to another quiet journey from Second Perspective. Tonight you won't be in the present, you'll wake up as a simple peasant in the heart of 14th century Europe. The air around you is thick with the scent of damp earth, wood smoke and something else, something indescribably heavy, a faint metallic sweetness that you can't quite place. You feel the rough, cool touch of packed dirt beneath your bare feet and the scratchy wool of a tunic against your skin. Outside, the distant, muffled bleating of sheep is punctuated by the rhythmic, creaking turn of a wooden cartwheel. You're profoundly weary, a bone-deep exhaustion that seems to settle into your very core, a weight you've carried for as long as you can remember. But before we begin, take a moment to breathe deeply. And if you enjoy unwinding with immersive storytelling and forgotten chapters of history, consider subscribing to Second Perspective. We release sleep-friendly stories every week, soft, slow, and deeply human. Now, let's step into the world of the mid-14th century, a decade often whispered about as perhaps the worst to be alive. You stir slowly, from a sleep that never truly feels restorative. The pallet beneath you is a simple affair, straw packed tightly into a sack, offering little cushion against the hard ground. It's cold. Not a biting cold, but a persistent dampness that seems to seep into your bones, despite the thin blanket of coarse wool pulled up to your chin. Your small hut, shared with your family, is little more than a single room, a wattle and daub construction, plastered with mud and dung, with a thatched roof that constantly sheds stray bits of straw onto your face. The only light comes from the dying embers of a fire in the central hearth. A faint orange glow that paints the rough-hewn walls with flickering shadows. The smoke, it's always the smoke. It hangs heavy in the air, a constant companion that stings your eyes and tickles your throat. There's no chimney, just a small hole in the roof, allowing most of it to escape. But enough lingers to infuse everything, your clothes, your hair, the very air you breathe, with the scent of wood smoke. You listen. The soft, even breathing of your wife beside you, the restless twitch of your youngest child on the other side of the hearth. Outside, the sounds of the village are still muffled by the pre-dawn quiet. A distant dog's bark, the faint, almost imperceptible rustle of wind through the bare branches of the oak trees beyond your hut. There's no rush, no clamor of alarm, just the slow, deliberate progression of night turning to dawn. You pull the rough blanket closer, feeling the knot in your stomach that is not hunger, not yet, but the precursor to it. It's the constant awareness of how fragile your existence is, how dependent you are on the land, on the weather, on the mercy of the Lord whose lands you till. This feeling, this subtle, underlying anxiety, it's a constant hum in the background of your life, as the sky outside begins to lighten. A faint, gray light filtering through the small, unglazed window opening covered with a piece of animal bladder. You push yourself up, your joints ache, a dull, familiar complaint that has become part of your daily rhythm. The straw rustles under you, and you hear your wife stir, sensing your movement. "Time," she murmurs, her voice thick with sleep. "Soon," you reply, your own voice rough. You reach for your simple tunic and breeches, the same clothes you wear day in and day out, patched and repatched countless times. They smell of smoke, of sweat, of the earth itself. There are no other clothes, no finery. Just these practical, hard-wearing garments that serve their purpose. You feel the coarse texture of the woven wool against your skin, a familiar sensation, almost a second skin. The first task is always the fire. You kneel before the hearth, carefully poking the embers, adding small pieces of kindling, coaxing a flame back to life. The faint warmth spreads slowly through the tiny room, a welcome relief against the morning chill. As the fire grows, casting a warmer glow, your wife begins to rise as well, starting on the preparation of the morning meal. It's always the same. A thick grey pottage made from whatever grains are available, oats, barley, perhaps a few dried peas. It's bland, nourishing enough to sustain you, but utterly without pleasure. You watch as she meticulously scrapes the last bits from the bottom of the wooden pot, wasting nothing. Every grain is precious, every mouthful counted. You eat in silence, sitting on small, rough-hewn stools pulled close to the hearth. The spoon, a carved piece of wood, feels smooth and worn from years of use in your hand. The steam rises from the pottage, carrying the faint, earthy scent of grains. You chew slowly, deliberately, feeling the warmth spread through your chest. This meal, it's fuel, nothing more. Outside, the sounds of the village are growing. The lowing of cattle, the clatter of wooden buckets, the distant shouts of men calling to each other. The sun is just beginning to peek over the horizon, painting the eastern sky with faint streaks of pale orange and purple. You can see the faint mist rising from the fields, a sure sign of a damp morning. You finish your pottage, wipe your mouth with the back of your hand. Your wife already has a small leather pouch ready for you, containing a piece of stale bread and perhaps a bit of dried cheese for your midday meal in the fields. It's not much, but it's all there is. Before you leave, you check on your tools, your hoe, the digging stick, perhaps a worn-out shovel. They are simple, functional implements, crafted from wood and iron, lovingly maintained. These are your livelihood, your connection to the earth that feeds you. You run your hand over the smooth, worn handle of your hoe, feeling the familiar grooves that fit your grip perfectly. You step outside, into the crisp morning air. The dampness from the mist clings to your clothes, a chill that makes you hunch your shoulders. The narrow path leading from your hut to the open fields is already busy with other villagers. Men, women, and older children, all heading in the same direction. There are no greetings. Not many words are exchanged at this hour, just the shared purpose, the unspoken understanding of the day's labor ahead. The ground under your feet is soft, churned earth from countless footsteps. You pass by other huts, some smaller, some slightly larger than your own. The smoke from their hearths curls lazily into the morning sky, mingling with your own. The smell of the village is distinct, a mix of human presence, animal dung, damp earth, and wood smoke. It's a primal scent, the smell of survival. As you walk and you look up at the sky, it's a familiar ritual, an instinct born of generations of dependence on the weather. Will it rain? Will the sun be too hot? Will there be a frost? Every nuance of the sky holds meaning, every cloud formation a potential omen. This morning, it seems clear, a good day for working the fields. A small sense of relief washes over you. A day without unexpected hardship is a blessing. You reach the communal fields, vast stretches of land that dominate the landscape around the village. These are the strips of land you are allotted to cultivate, your family's portion, mingled with those of your neighbors. There are no fences, no clear boundaries, just the subtle demarcations of furrows and plantings. It's a testament to the collective effort of the village, the shared responsibility for feeding everyone. The air out here is fresher, cleaner, yet still carrying the faint, earthy scent of turned soil. You see your neighbors already bent over, their backs to the rising sun, their hoes rising and falling in rhythmic unison. The sound of their work, a soft, repetitive thudding, becomes the soundtrack to your morning. You find your strip of land, the earth cool and moist beneath your hands as you kneel to inspect the young shoots of wheat. They are tender, vulnerable. Your survival depends on their growth. You pick up your hoe, the weight of it familiar in your grip, and so the work begins. Hour after hour you labor, your muscles aching with each swing of the hoe. The sun begins to climb higher, its warmth a slow comfort on your back, then gradually becoming a relentless heat. You work methodically, patiently, clearing weeds, breaking up clumps of earth, ensuring the fragile plants have the best chance to thrive. The sweat runs down your temples, stings your eyes, your hands become grimy with soil, your fingernails caked with dirt. There is no clock, no set schedule beyond the rise and fall of the sun. You work until your body tells you to stop, until the sun reaches its zenith and begins its slow descent. The only break is for your midday meal, the dry bread and cheese, eaten quickly while sitting on the edge of the field, your eyes scanning the horizon, always watchful. You see your neighbors around you, their faces etched with the same weariness, the same quiet determination. There are no complaints, no grumbling. This is simply life. This is what you do. This is your duty to your family, to your village, to the land itself. The silence of the fields is broken only by the sounds of labor, the rhythmic scraping of hoes, the occasional call of a bird, the distant murmur of voices. It's a peaceful sound in its own way, a testament to human resilience. As the afternoon wears on, a new kind of fatigue sets in. It's not just physical, but a mental weariness, the repetitive motion, the endless expanse of the field, the knowledge that tomorrow will bring more of the same. But there is also a strange sense of contentment in the rhythm, a meditative quality to the work. Your mind can wander, or it can simply be present in the moment, feeling the sun on your skin, the earth beneath your hands. You notice the changing light, the way the shadows lengthen across the field. It's a signal, a soft, unspoken promise that the day's labor is nearing its end. Your back aches, your shoulders are stiff, but there's a small spark of anticipation for the brief respite that evening will bring. Finally, as the sun dips low, casting long golden shadows across the fields, the signal comes. It might be a bell from the village church, or simply the sight of the Lord's bailiff riding past, surveying the day's work. You straighten up slowly, feeling the stiffness in your spine. You stretch, your muscles protesting. You gather your tools, shouldering your hoe. The walk back to the village is slower than the walk out, your steps heavier. But there's also a sense of accomplishment. Another day's work done. As you near the village, the scent of woodsmoke is stronger, mingled now with the faint smell of cooking fires. It's a comforting aroma, a sign of home. You see children playing in the dirt lanes, their laughter a bright counterpoint to the quiet weariness of the adults. Your wife meets you at the door of your hut, her face smudged with soot from the fire. She smiles, a tired but warm smile. You step inside, feeling the familiar comfort of your small smoky dwelling. The evening meal is another pottage, perhaps with a few meager vegetables added if the harvest has been good. It's eaten in the same quiet contemplation as the morning meal. The family gathered around the flickering hearth. The fire casts long shadows on the walls, dancing figures that seem to tell their own stories. After the meal, there are simple chores, mending clothes and preparing tools for the next day, perhaps sharing a few quiet words with your wife. There's no elaborate entertainment, no books to read, no grand stories to tell. Life is too demanding for such luxuries. Sometimes, if there's a traveling storyteller or a special feast day, there might be music or shared tales. But tonight, like most nights, it's simply the quiet presence of your family, the soft crackle of the fire, the deep hum of exhaustion settling in, your children. They are small, fragile beings in this harsh world. You watch them as they sleep, their chests rising and falling in even rhythm. You worry for them, constantly. Will there be enough food? Will they survive the next winter? Will the plague that whispers in distant villages reach your own? These fears are always present, lurking just beneath the surface of your daily life. You think of the lord of the manor, the distant, powerful figure who owns the land you work. You owe him a portion of your harvest and labor service on his own fields. It's a heavy burden, but without his protection you would be vulnerable to bandits, to invaders. It's a necessary arrangement, a system that has existed for generations. You resent the toil, but you accept it as the way of the world. As the night deepens, you prepare for sleep. You lie down on your straw pallet, feeling the ache in your muscles, the exhaustion in your bones. The hut grows cold again, despite the lingering warmth from the fire. You pull the rough blanket up, closing your eyes. Sleep comes quickly, a heavy, dreamless descent into darkness. The sun rises again, and the cycle begins anew. Day after day, week after week, month after month. The seasons dictate your life, the planting, the growing, the harvesting. Your world is small, confined to your village and the surrounding fields. News from outside, from the distant towns and cities, is rare, often distorted, and always slow to arrive. Life is hard, relentlessly so. Famine is a constant threat, a bad harvest, a prolonged drought, a sudden flood. Any of these can mean starvation. You've seen it happen. You've seen neighbors waste away, their bodies growing thin, their eyes hollow. You've seen children cry from hunger, a sound that tears at your very soul. You pray for good weather, for a bountiful yield, for the basic necessities that allow you to simply exist. Disease is another ever-present shadow. Smallpox, measles, dysentery. They sweep through the village with terrifying regularity, claiming the young and the old, the strong and the weak. There is little medicine, only folk remedies, prayers, and the grim acceptance of fate. You've seen loved ones sicken and die, their bodies consumed by fever, their breath growing shallow. The grief is deep, but there is no time for prolonged mourning. Life demands that you continue. You remember the last time the sweating sickness came through. It wasn't the worst, but it took old Ilara, who lived just 3 huts down. She was strong, always worked hard, but within days she was gone. The fear, it lingers. You try not to think about it, but it's always there, a low hum beneath the surface of daily life. Your body is your most valuable possession, your tool for survival. You treat it with care, though often it feels like a beast of burden. You eat what you must to sustain it. You rest when you can. But always, always, you work. Physical pain is a constant companion. Aching joints, stiff muscles, raw hands. You learn to live with it, to ignore it, to push through it. The village is your entire world. Your identity is tied to it, to your family, to your role within this small, self-sufficient community. Everyone has a place, a purpose. The blacksmith, the weaver, the miller, the priest. You are all interconnected, dependent on each other for survival. There's a strong sense of community, of shared hardship, of mutual support. If a neighbor falls ill, others will help tend their fields. If a roof needs mending, willing hands will appear. But this shared existence also means little privacy, little personal space. Your life is an open book to your neighbors. Gossip spreads quickly, reputations are easily made or lost. There is a strict social hierarchy, from the lord at the top down to the lowliest serf. You know your place and you rarely question it. To do so would invite trouble, perhaps even violence. Justice is swift and often brutal. If you steal, if you commit a crime, the punishment is severe. Fines, beatings, mutilation, even death. There are no elaborate trials, no appeals. The Lord's word is law. This fear of retribution, it keeps order. Religion is a central pillar of your life. The church is the most imposing building in the village, its stone walls a stark contrast to your humble hut. The priest is a figure of authority, a conduit to God. You attend Mass regularly, kneeling on the cold, hard floor, listening to words in Latin that you don't fully understand, but whose meaning is conveyed through the priest's solemn tone and gestures. You believe deeply. God's will guides everything. The good harvests, the bad, the sickness, the death. It is all part of a divine plan. You pray for salvation, for protection from evil, for the souls of the dead. Fear of eternal damnation is real, a powerful motivator for righteous living. The promise of heaven, a paradise free from suffering and toil, is a comforting thought during the darkest days. The seasons turn, each bringing its own cycle of work and worry. Spring is a time of hope, of new growth, of planting seeds in the freshly turned earth. Summer is a time of intense labor, long days under the hot sun, weeding and tending the crops. Autumn is the harvest, a frantic period of gathering the bounty, a time of thanksgiving and feasting, if the yield is good. And winter. Winter is the time of scarcity, of bitter cold, of huddling by the fire, praying for spring to return. You remember last winter, the snow piled high against your hut, The biting wind that seemed to find every crack and crevice. The dwindling food stores. The fear in your wife's eyes. You had to slaughter the old goat. A painful necessity, but it kept your family from starving. Those long dark nights, sitting in the smoky hut, listening to the wind howl outside, they are etched into your memory. There is little time for joy, or rather joy is found in small, fleeting moments. The laughter of your children, the warmth of the fire on a cold night, a good harvest, the simple taste of fresh bread after a long day's work. These moments are cherished, savored, because you know how fragile they are. You've heard whispers from travelers, from wandering merchants who occasionally pass through your remote village. Whispers of a terrible sickness far to the east, a pestilence that is sweeping across the land, claiming lives by the thousands, by the tens of thousands. At first, it seemed like just another rumor, another distant horror that wouldn't touch your isolated world. But the whispers grew louder, more frequent. Tales of entire villages wiped out, of towns where the dead lay unburied in the streets. The fear begins to creep in, a cold dread that settles in your gut. You try to push it away, to focus on the immediate tasks, the daily grind. But it's there, a new unsettling presence in your already precarious life. You hear the priest speak of it in church, his voice trembling. He calls it God's wrath, a punishment for the sins of mankind. He urges repentance, more prayers, more fasting. The villagers listen with wide eyes, their faces pale with unspoken terror. The Lord's bailiff rides through the village more often now, his face grim. He gives new orders, tells you to stay away from travelers, to report any signs of sickness. The fear is palpable, a thick, suffocating blanket that settles over the community. One day, a new kind of silence falls over the village. It's not the quiet of dawn or the hush of labor in the fields. It's an unnatural silence, a quiet born of absence. You notice that old Thomas, who lives 2 huts down, hasn't appeared in the fields for 2 days. His wife, she hasn't come to the well. A chill runs down your spine. You walk past their hut, tentatively. The door is ajar. A faint, sickeningly sweet smell wafts out, a smell you've never encountered before. But your instincts scream danger. You don't enter, you don't need to. The silence, the smell, they speak volumes. Soon, others fall ill. First a cough, then fever, then the telltale swellings in the armpits and groin. These buboes, they are horrifying, black, angry, filled with pus. The pain is said to be excruciating, and then death, swift and merciless. The sickness spreads like wildfire, faster than any disease you've ever known. One day, a neighbor is healthy. The next, they are on their deathbed. The sheer speed of it, the indiscriminate nature, it's terrifying. It doesn't matter if you are rich or poor, old or young, strong or weak. The plague takes all. The familiar routines of life begin to unravel. The fields are left untended. No one goes to the well without fear. The communal spirit of the village, it starts to fray under the immense pressure of fear and grief. People eye each other with suspicion, wondering who will be next, wondering if a shared touch, a shared breath, will bring the deadly contagion. The dead. There are so many dead, too many to bury properly. The usual rituals are abandoned. There are no more solemn processions to the churchyard. The priest himself is ill, his voice hoarse with fever. His final sermon is a desperate plea to God, a lament for a dying world. You see carts piled high with bodies, driven to mass graves dug hastily outside the village. The sight is horrific. Bodies stripped of dignity, tossed unceremoniously into the earth. The smell of death, it's everywhere. It permeates the air, clings to your clothes, seeps into your dreams. You look at your own family, your wife, your children. Every cough, every sneeze, every flushed cheek sends a jolt of panic through you. You try to keep them safe, to keep them isolated. But how? The sickness is invisible, insidious. The future, it no longer exists beyond the next breath. The world has narrowed to this single terrifying point: survival. Each day that you wake up, Each day that your family wakes up is a profound blessing. This is the reality of the mid-14th century, a time when the very fabric of existence was ripped apart by forces beyond human control. A time when the simple act of breathing carried a silent, terrifying risk. And this is just the beginning of your journey through the worst decade to be alive. The days bleed into one another, marked less by the usual rhythm of tasks and more by the relentless march of the dying. The village, once a bustling hub of life and labor, begins to shrink to quiet. The sounds of daily existence, the distant chatter from the well, the rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the laughter of children at play, they diminish, replaced instead by a chilling silence, punctuated by the mournful tolling of the church bell, a sound that, in its grim repetition, becomes a harbinger of dread rather than solace. Each chime tells of another life extinguished, another family shattered. You begin to recognize the faces that are missing from the fields, from the morning meal gathering around the communal fire in the village center. Old man Gregor, whose stories you sometimes listen to at dusk, gone. Young Ilara, the miller's daughter, who always brought a shy smile to your face, gone. It's a roster of ghosts, growing longer each day. The very air feels different. There's a heaviness to it, a subtle, sickening sweetness that you now identify with death. It's the smell of decay, of unburied bodies, of fear. It clings to your clothes, to your hair, and despite your efforts to wash it away in the cold stream, it seems to permeate your very being. You breathe it in with every breath, a constant grim reminder. Fear itself becomes a physical presence. It sits in your gut, a cold, hard knot. Every cough from your child, every unexpected shiver from your wife, sends a spike of icy panic through you. You find yourself watching them constantly, scrutinizing their faces for any sign, any subtle change in color or expression. Sleep offers little escape. Your dreams are often disturbed. Images of feverish faces and mass graves swirling through the darkness. You wake with a gasp, your heart hammering in your chest, only to find the reality outside your hut just as grim as your nightmares. People avoid each other. The natural human inclination to seek comfort in community is twisted by terror. A shared touch, a brief conversation, a moment of close proximity. Each becomes a potential death sentence. You see neighbors who once shared meals, now crossing the lane to avoid passing too close. Hands that once offered comfort now recoil. The invisible threat has become the ultimate divider. The priest, if he is still alive and able, continues to preach, his voice hoarse, his eyes sunken. He speaks of God's wrath, of repentance, of seeking forgiveness before the inevitable. But his words offer less comfort now. What sins could possibly warrant such widespread, indiscriminate suffering? Doubt, a dangerous seed, begins to sprout in the fertile ground of despair. You pray, yes. You pray with a desperation you've never known, but the prayers feel hollow, echoing unanswered into the smoke-filled air. Food becomes even scarcer. With so many sick or dead, the fields lie untended. Crops rot in the ground. Animals wander uncared for. The delicate balance of subsistence farming collapses. You guard your meager stores with a new ferocity, a primal instinct to protect what little you have. The pottage is thinner now, more watery. Hunger, already a familiar companion, sharpens its teeth. You remember one evening, your youngest child, small and frail, began to cough. A dry, rasping cough that seemed to tear at their tiny chest. You and your wife exchanged a look, a silent, terrified communication that spoke volumes. The fear was a living thing in the small hut. You huddled together, holding your child, feeling their feverish skin against yours. You tried every folk remedy you knew, every whispered prayer. You brewed a bitter tea from herbs gathered in the woods. You placed cool cloths on their forehead. You watched, and you waited. The night was endless. Every breath your child took felt like a precious gift. Every strained gasp, a torment. You didn't sleep. You couldn't. You just held them and prayed. By morning, The fever had broken. The cough was still there, but less severe. They were weak, terribly weak. But they were alive. The wave of relief that washed over you was so profound, it brought tears to your eyes. It was a reprieve, a moment of grace in a world that offered so little. But the memory of that night, the sheer gut-wrenching terror, it would forever be etched into your soul. Death is no longer just an abstract concept or a distant tragedy. It is intimate, it is personal. You help carry the bodies of your neighbors to the communal pit. You see their faces, familiar faces, now contorted in the rictus of death. You feel the chilling weight of their limbs. You hear the thud as they are dropped into the earth. It is a constant, brutal reminder of your own mortality and the fragility of those you love. The very concept of time seems distorted. Days blur into weeks. The seasons still turn, but their significance is lost in the shadow of the plague. The planting, the harvesting. These rhythms that once defined your life now seem meaningless in the face of such overwhelming death. Why plant when there may be no one left to harvest? Why plan for tomorrow when tomorrow might not come? Yet, despite the despair, life finds a way to stubbornly persist. A few are spared. You are one of them. Your family miraculously continues to breathe. You don't know why. There is no logic to it. It is simply fate, or God's inscrutable will. And because you are alive, you continue. You must. The Lord of the Manor. He is either dead or he has fled. The bailiff, too, has disappeared. The structure that once governed your life has crumbled. The duties, the taxes, the forced labor, they are gone. But with that freedom comes a new, terrifying uncertainty. Who will protect you now? Who will resolve disputes? Who will organize the planting for the next season? The vacuum of authority leaves you adrift. The fields, once meticulously cared for, are overgrown. Weeds choke the precious crops. Animals wander freely, sometimes into your hut in search of food. The order of the world has been upturned. It's a silent chaos, a testament to the fact that without human hands to shape and tend it, nature quickly reclaims its own. You begin to forage more, venturing further from the village in search of edible roots, wild berries, whatever small game you can snare. The woods, once a familiar source of firewood, now feel menacing. There are whispers of outlaws, desperate men driven to brigandage by hunger and despair. You carry a sharpened stick with you, a meager defense, but it's all you have. The sounds of the forest are different too. There are fewer birdsong, a strange hush that seems to have fallen over the natural world, or perhaps it's just your perception. Your senses heightened by constant vigilance. Every rustle in the undergrowth, every snapping twig sends your heart racing. One afternoon, while searching for mushrooms near the edge of the Lord's deserted hunting grounds, you stumble upon something that freezes your blood. A small, crude camp, the embers of a recent fire still warm, and scattered around it, empty sacks, gnawed bones, and a single discarded shoe. Not a peasant's shoe, but a finer one, of leather, though mud-stained and worn. It speaks of travelers, or worse, of those who now prey on the weak. You retreat quickly, silently, your heart pounding. The world outside your village, once merely distant, now feels actively hostile. The nights become colder, a sharper chill that promises winter's return. The fear of hunger combines with the fear of cold. Your hut, once a sanctuary, now feels like a thin shell against the twin assaults of disease and nature's indifference. You try to gather more firewood, but your energy flags. Each swing of the axe feels heavier than the last. You look at your hands, calloused, scarred, and perpetually ingrained with dirt. They are the hands of a survivor. They have tilled the soil, carried the sick, buried the dead. They are strong, but they also tremble sometimes with exhaustion and with a fear that never truly leaves you. The children, those who remain, play with a new solemnity. Their games are quieter, their laughter less frequent. They have seen too much. Their innocence, if it ever truly existed in this harsh world, has been stripped away by the raw reality of death. You try to shield them. to protect their fragile minds. But how can you explain what you yourself do not understand? The few remaining villagers huddle together more often now, seeking a fragile comfort in shared presence. Words are few. There's a profound unspoken understanding that binds you. You are the remnants, the survivors of a cataclysm that has reshaped your world. You share silent meals, the occasional sip of weak ale. These moments of quiet companionship are precious, a faint ember of humanity in the encroaching darkness. One day, a new kind of sound filters into the village. Not the familiar clang of tools or the cries of animals. It's a distant rumble, growing steadily louder. It's the sound of horses, and many of them. Not the Lord's mounted guard. This sounds different, more numerous, more purposeful. A terrible fear grips you. Raiders, desperate men, perhaps from another region, driven by the same hunger and chaos that now permeates your own land. You remember the old tales of villages sacked, of women taken, of homes burned to the ground. The plague had been an invisible enemy, but this is a visible, tangible threat. You quickly gather your family, urging them to hide in the small, cramped root cellar beneath your hut, where you keep your meager winter stores. It's dark, damp, and smells of earth and stored turnips. You push them inside, whispering urgent instructions to remain silent, no matter what they hear. Your heart is a drum against your ribs. You grab your sharpened hoe, a useless weapon against armed men, but it's all you have. You stand at the narrow doorway of your hut, listening. The sounds grow closer, the rhythmic pounding of hooves, the jingle of harness, the murmur of rough voices. Then they are here, a dozen or so men, some on horseback, others on foot. They are not wearing uniforms, no banners to identify them. They are a ragtag group, clad in rough clothes, some with crude armor fashioned from scavenged metal. Their faces are grim, hardened by hardship and desperation. They carry swords, axes, even longbows. They burst into the village, their shouts shattering the fragile silence. They are searching for food, for anything of value. You hear the splintering of wood as they kick in doors, the frightened cries of villagers who are not quick enough to hide. You hear the clatter of pots and pans, the grunting sounds of men ransacking homes. You grip your hoe tighter, your knuckles white. What will you do if they come to your hut? Will you fight? Will you surrender? Your mind races, consumed by a primal fear for your family. You hear them outside your hut now. Heavy footsteps, coarse voices. You hold your breath. Your body tense, ready to spring. A hand grasps the rough wooden door, testing it. It's secured with a simple wooden bar. It won't hold for long. A heavy boot kicks against the door, once, twice. The wood groans, splinters. Your heart leaps into your throat. You brace yourself, your eyes fixed on the door. Your mind a whirlwind of terror and desperate resolve. This is the chaotic, brutal reality of a world unmoored. The plague may have passed through your village, leaving a trail of death, but its legacy is an even more fractured and dangerous world. The bonds of society, weakened by fear and loss, begin to snap under the pressure of hunger and lawlessness. And you, a simple peasant, are caught in the eye of this new, terrifying storm. Your survival, already a miracle, now depends on an even more acute vigilance, a deeper well of cunning and resilience against threats both seen and unseen. The heavy boot against your door sends splinters flying inwards. The rough wood groans in protest, then gives way with a sickening crack. Two figures, large and menacing, fill the doorway, backlit by the fading light outside. Their faces are grim, shadowed beneath crude salvaged helmets. They scan your small hut, their eyes piercing through the gloom, searching for anything of value. Your breath catches in your throat. You stand your ground, the hoe held defensively, a futile gesture against their crude swords and axes. One of them grunts, a guttural sound that cuts through the silence. "Anything here?" he rasps, his voice rough with thirst and impatience. He gestures with his axe. "Food? Silver? Anything you're hiding?" Your mind races, a flurry of desperate thoughts. Your children, hidden beneath the floor. Your wife, standing just behind you, a silent, terrified presence. You shake your head slowly, deliberately. "Nothing," you say, your voice barely a whisper, hoarse with fear. "We have nothing. The sickness, it took everything." The raider sneers, his eyes lingering on your worn tunic. "Nothing, eh? You look too healthy for nothing." He takes a step forward, his boot scuffing the packed earth floor. The metallic tang of fear fills your mouth. You prepare yourself for the inevitable, for the blow you know is coming. Suddenly, a commotion outside. Shouts, louder now, and the distinct whinny of a horse in distress. The two raiders in your doorway exchange a quick, sharp look. Their leader, a man with a scarred face and a glint in his eye, yells from the village lane, "Leave it! We have what we need. Time to go." The raiders hesitate for a moment, then turn, casting one last disdainful look at you and your hut. They are gone as quickly as they arrived, their heavy footsteps fading into the chaos of their departure. You hear the creak of overloaded carts, the clatter of snatched goods, and then, slowly, the sounds recede into the distance. You stand frozen for a long moment, listening to the fading sounds of their retreat. Your hands are shaking uncontrollably. The hoe slips from your grasp and clatters to the floor. The relief that washes over you is so immense it almost buckles your knees. You drop to the ground, drawing in a ragged breath, trying to steady your racing heart. Your wife, silent until now, sinks beside you, pulling your hand to her chest. Her breath is coming in short, shallow gasps. You look at the cracked door, at the fresh damage to your fragile home. They took nothing, but they left behind a deeper scar, the terrifying knowledge of how utterly vulnerable you are. You whisper to your children, a low, reassuring murmur. Slowly, carefully, they emerge from the root cellar, blinking in the dim light, their small faces pale and wide-eyed. You pull them close, holding them tight, inhaling the familiar scent of their hair, a scent of life in this dying world. For now, they are safe. For now. The night after the raid is long and restless. Sleep offers little solace. Every rustle outside your hut sends a jolt of panic through you. You listen intently, straining your ears for any returning sound, any whisper of danger. The village is quieter now, a new kind of quiet born of violated peace. The sounds that linger are not the sounds of life, but the occasional distant whimper, the soft, mournful cries of those whose homes were truly plundered, whose loved ones were harmed. In the morning, the extent of the damage is visible. Several huts have been ransacked, their doors hanging askew, their meager contents scattered. A few animals are missing. A bitter resignation settles over the remaining villagers. What little they had, taken. The plague had claimed lives. The raiders had claimed what was left of their livelihoods. The shared grief, the shared fear, begins to forge a new kind of unity among the survivors. You are fewer now, but stronger in your shared adversity. There is an unspoken understanding. You must rebuild, however slowly, however painfully. The immediate task is to secure what remains. You help your neighbors repair their damaged huts, patching walls with salvaged mud and straw. Hands that once tilled the soil now mend roofs, secure doors. It's a slow, painstaking process, but each repair is a small act of defiance against the overwhelming odds. The concept of lord or authority seems a distant memory. You are now truly on your own. The land is still there, but who controls it? Who protects it? These questions hang in the air unanswered. The old feudal order, which had given your life structure, however harsh, has fractured. You are now, in essence, a free man. But freedom in a lawless world is a terrifying burden. The seasons continue their relentless turning, oblivious to human suffering. The air grows colder, signaling the approach of winter. The harvest, what little there was, must now be stretched even further. You gather every scrap of edible food, every fallen branch for firewood. Each day is a struggle for basic survival. You learn to be even more self-sufficient. You discover new skills, born of necessity. You learn to track small game in the woods, setting crude snares. You learn which wild plants are edible and which are poisonous. Your senses sharpen. Your awareness of your surroundings becomes almost instinctual. You notice every shift in the wind, every distant sound, every subtle change in the light. The silence of the fields, once punctuated by the sounds of labor, now feels empty. The vast expanse of untended land is a silent testament to the lives lost. But in this emptiness, there is also a strange opportunity. With fewer mouths to feed, the burden on the land is lessened. If you can survive this winter, there might be a chance for a better harvest next year for those who remain. It's a fragile hope, a tiny flicker in the overwhelming darkness. Days blend into a monotonous rhythm of survival. Wake, forage, repair, eat, sleep. The sun is your clock, your stomach your guide. Conversation is sparse, focused on immediate needs. Is there enough wood? Did you see any rabbits? The cough, is it worse? You watch your children, growing taller but thinner. Their eyes hold an old wisdom now, born of too much seen, too much understood. They do not complain. They simply exist, embodying the resilient spirit of childhood in the face of impossible hardship. You teach them how to identify edible berries, how to build a small fire, how to recognize the sounds of danger. Their education is no longer about the rhythm of the church or the lessons of obedience, but the harsh, practical lessons of survival. The cold bites deeper as winter truly sets in. The short days are filled with a desperate search for fuel and food. The wind howls around your hut, a mournful lament that echoes the ache in your own soul. You huddle around the small fire, wrapped in threadbare blankets, feeling the cold seep into your bones despite the flames. Smoke fills the hut, an ever-present companion. It burns your eyes, makes your throat raw, but it also means warmth, means life. The shared meals, what little there are, become even more sacred. A few root vegetables, perhaps a scrap of dried meat from a lucky hunt, stretched to feed everyone. You chew slowly, savoring every mouthful, knowing that hunger will soon return. The taste is bland, monotonous, but it is sustenance. Sleep is a refuge, but also a time of vulnerability. You wake often, shivering, listening to the night sounds, consumed by worry. Your dreams are often of warmth, of plentiful food, of a world that is no longer filled with fear and death. But then you wake, and the harsh reality returns. The nights are long. The darkness outside feels absolute, oppressive. There are no lamps, no candles, just the flickering glow of the fire. You sit in silence, listening to the soft breathing of your family, the crackle of the flames, the occasional distant howl of a wolf. The silence is profound, yet full of unseen presences, of memories that refuse to fade. You remember the feasts of old, before the plague, the bustling market days, the singing at harvest festivals. They feel like a lifetime ago, remnants of a forgotten world. This new world is stark, stripped bare of all but the most fundamental aspects of existence. As the weeks of winter drag on, the struggle intensifies. Food becomes critically scarce. The fear of starvation, which had always been a distant shadow, now stands at your door, a cold, hungry ghost. You and your wife grow weaker, your movements slower, your faces gaunt. You force yourselves to eat what little you have, knowing that your children depend on your strength. You learn to conserve every ounce of energy. Every step, every movement is deliberate, measured. There is no wasted effort. Even thoughts become simpler, focused on the immediate, on the next breath, the next meager meal. The human spirit, however, possesses an incredible, stubborn resilience. Even in the depths of despair, small acts of kindness emerge. A neighbor shares a precious handful of dried beans. Another helps patch a leaky roof. These small gestures, born of shared suffering, are like tiny embers in the overwhelming cold, reminding you that humanity, however diminished, has not been entirely extinguished. The coldest night you remember, the ground frozen solid, the air so sharp it burned your lungs. You had nothing left to burn but the last few pieces of furniture, precious family heirlooms that had survived generations. You watched as the carved stool, your grandfather's stool, was fed to the flames, its warmth a fleeting comfort against the pervasive chill. It was a painful sacrifice, a piece of your past consumed by the brutal present, but it was necessary. As winter slowly begins to loosen its icy grip, a new kind of desperation sets in. The last of your winter stores are gone. You are living day to day, hour to hour. The snow begins to melt, revealing the muddy, barren earth beneath. It offers a sliver of hope, the promise of spring. But first, you must survive this period of absolute scarcity. The hungry gap, they call it, the time between the last of the winter stores and the first new growth of spring. It is often the deadliest time. You push yourself to forage further, risking encounters with wild animals, or worse, with other desperate humans. You find a few scrawny roots, a handful of dried berries clinging to thorny bushes. Every discovery, however small, is a victory. Your body aches constantly. Your muscles are wasted, your bones feel brittle. But a primal drive to live, to protect your family, keeps you going. You are a walking testament to the human will to survive, even when all hope seems lost. And then, slowly, imperceptibly at first, the first true signs of spring appear. A tiny green shoot pushing through the still frozen earth. The faint chirping of a bird, tentative but clear. The air, though still cold, carries a new scent. The scent of damp earth, of thawing ice, of awakening life. It's a fragile promise, easily broken, but it's enough to stir a flicker of hope within you. You look at your wife, her face thin and weary, but her eyes hold the same glimmer of desperate hope. You look at your children, their small forms huddled close, their breathing shallow but steady. You have survived. You have endured the plague, the raiders, the brutal winter. You are weaker, scarred, forever changed, but you are still here. The world you inhabit is utterly different from the one you knew before. It is a world with fewer people, with broken structures, with deeper scars. But it is still a world. The task ahead is immense. The fields lie fallow, choked with weeds. The tools are few, the bodies weak. But the urge to plant, to nurture, to coax life from the unforgiving earth is deeply ingrained. It is the peasant's calling, the fundamental act of survival. You step out of your hut into the pale light of a new dawn. The air is still cold, but there is a hint of moisture, a promise of warmth. You pick up your hoe, the worn wood familiar in your hands. It feels heavier now, but you grip it with renewed purpose. The few remaining villagers emerge from their huts, their movements slow and deliberate. Their faces are etched with hardship, but their eyes hold the same fragile hope. Without a word, a silent understanding passes between you. You are the survivors. You are the ones who must now rebuild. The task is daunting. The soil is hard, resistant. Your muscles ache with the first few swings of the hoe. But with each turn of the earth, a tiny seed of hope is planted, not just in the ground, but in your weary heart. You are creating something from nothing, bringing order to chaos, life from the jaws of death. The sounds of labor begin again, hesitant at first, then slowly gaining rhythm. The scraping of hoes, the grunting of effort. It is a quieter sound than before, but it is a sound of life, a testament to resilience. This is the new world. This is the aftermath of the worst decade, a world forever altered, haunted by ghosts, yet clinging stubbornly to the promise of another spring, another harvest. And you are a part of that promise. The air, though still holding the bite of late winter, now carries a faint, new sweetness, the promise of spring. You can almost taste it, the subtle scent of damp earth awakening, of tiny buds on the branches of the ancient oak. Your body, weary and depleted from the long dark months, instinctively feels this shift, this slow turning of the great wheel of the year. It's a rhythm deeply ingrained in your very being, a primal whisper of hope. You push your hoe into the stubborn, still cold earth. It resists, a testament to the long freeze, but with each push and pull, each rhythmic scrape, the soil slowly yields. Your hands, raw and aching, blistered and calloused, are the instruments of this small miracle. You work alongside the few remaining villagers, their faces gaunt, their movements slow, but their resolve mirroring your own. There is little talk, for words are precious, and energy more so. The shared silence is a testament to your collective will to survive. The fields, once vast and teeming with life, now feel emptier. The strips of tilled earth stark against the untouched, weed-choked land. You remember the bustling days of planting before, the communal laughter, the songs, the shared labor that made the immense task feel lighter. Now the quiet is profound, broken only by the rhythmic thud of hoes and the occasional call of a bird. Every furrow you turn feels like a small victory, a defiant act against the overwhelming silence of absence. Your children, though still frail, begin to show a spark of their old selves. Their games are quiet, but they find small joys in the mud, in chasing a stray chicken. You watch them, a knot of fierce love and fear in your chest. They are the future, the fragile continuation of your lineage in a world that has tried to extinguish it. You teach them diligently, patiently, how to handle the small tools, how to identify edible plants, how to avoid the dangerous ones. Their education is no longer confined to the teachings of the priest, but to the harsh, vital lessons of survival. The days lengthen, bringing more precious hours of daylight. The sun, once a distant cold orb, now offers a gentle, increasing warmth. You feel its rays on your back, a slow comfort that seeps into your weary bones. It's a tangible sign that the grip of winter is truly broken, that the earth is stirring back to life. As the spring progresses, the landscape around your village slowly transforms. The bare branches of the trees begin to bud, a delicate green emerging from the stark gray. Wildflowers, small and tenacious, push through the thawing soil, splashes of color against the drab earth. The air fills with the faint, sweet scent of blossoms, a fragile beauty in a world still scarred by loss. The communal well, once a hub of daily gossip and exchange, is quieter now. Fewer buckets clatter, fewer voices mingle, but the water still flows, cold and clear, a life-giving constant. You draw it carefully, feeling its cool weight, knowing its immense value. Every drop is precious. Your diet remains meager. The last of the winter stores are long gone, and the new crops have yet to yield. You rely heavily on foraging. You spend hours in the sparse woodlands surrounding the village, searching for anything edible. Wild garlic, bitter roots, the first tender shoots of edible weeds. Every find is a small triumph, a tiny stave against the relentless hunger that gnaws at your stomach. You've learned to identify the subtle signs, the faint green against the brown earth, the specific shape of a leaf. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you might find a bird's nest with a few eggs, or set a snare that catches a small rabbit. These are feasts, rare and celebrated moments where the pangs of hunger are temporarily silenced. The small crackling fire in your hut becomes the center of your universe, transforming raw ingredients into sustenance. The smell of something cooking, however humble, fills your hut with a sense of security, however fleeting. The constant state of vigilance never truly dissipates. The memory of the raiders, the fear of new threats, keeps your senses sharpened. You scan the horizons regularly, listening for any unfamiliar sounds, any distant movement. Sleep is still light, easily broken by the slightest disturbance. You are always aware of the state of your surroundings, even when your body yearns for deep rest. Your dreams, when they come, are often vivid. Sometimes they are of the past, of family members lost to the plague, their faces clear and vibrant as they were before the sickness. You wake with a pang of grief, the stark reality of their absence a fresh wound. Other times your dreams are of a future that seems impossible, of bountiful harvests, of a village teeming with healthy children, of a world free from the ever-present threat of disease and starvation. You wake from these dreams with a profound sense of longing, a quiet ache in your chest. Yet despite the ever-present challenges, there is a subtle shift. As the land slowly begins to green, a faint sense of renewal stirs within you. The very act of planting, of putting seeds into the earth, is an act of faith. It is a belief in a future, however uncertain. You choose the best seeds, carefully stored from the previous meager harvest, and entrust them to the soil, hoping for a return. The days of tilling and planting are long and arduous. Your muscles ache with a deeper, more profound weariness than before. Your body, already weakened by hunger and hardship, struggles with the immense physical demands. You push through the pain, focusing on the rhythmic motion, the slow progress. Each time you straighten your back, you look out over the small patch of turned earth, seeing the potential for life within it. As the young shoots begin to emerge from the soil, fragile and tender, a quiet joy blooms within you. It is a fragile joy, easily overshadowed by the constant anxieties, but it is real. You watch over them like a parent, protecting them from pests, from the whims of the weather. Every growth is a small victory, a testament to your perseverance. The rain becomes a source of intense anxiety and profound relief. Too little, and the crops will wither. Too much, and they will rot in the ground, or be washed away by floods. You watch the sky constantly, scrutinizing every cloud formation, every shift in the wind. A gentle, steady rain is a blessing, celebrated with a quiet, heartfelt gratitude. A sudden storm, on the other hand, fills you with dread, sending you rushing out to secure what little you can, to divert the flow of water, to protect your precious sprouts. You remember one afternoon a sudden violent thunderstorm rolled in. The sky turned a bruised purple, and the wind whipped through the village with incredible force. Rain came down in sheets, turning the paths into muddy rivers. You and your wife frantically worked to secure the precious young plants, digging small trenches to divert the torrents of water. The fear was palpable. One bad storm could wipe out weeks of tireless effort, condemning your family to starvation. But then, as quickly as it came, the storm passed. The sun emerged, casting a brilliant rainbow across the drenched landscape. The young shoots, though battered, remained. A wave of profound relief washed over you, followed by an even deeper exhaustion. The summer months bring new challenges. The sun beats down relentlessly, drying out the earth. The constant threat of drought hangs heavy in the air. You spend hours carrying water from the well, painstakingly watering each plant by hand, a slow, arduous process under the blazing sun. Your skin becomes leathery, tanned by the sun and wind. Your body is a vessel of endurance, pushed to its absolute limits. Pests become a new enemy. Swarms of insects, hungry birds, small rodents, all seeking to feast on your hard-won crops. You spend your days shooing away birds, setting crude traps for mice, desperately trying to protect every precious stalk, every burgeoning ear of grain. It's a constant battle, a relentless defense of your meager livelihood. The village, though still sparse, slowly begins to find a new rhythm. The remaining families, bonded by shared trauma and mutual dependence, operate as a tighter unit. Decisions are made communally, without the distant hand of a lord. There is a sense of shared ownership, of shared responsibility for the fragile future. If one family struggles, others offer what little they can. This unspoken pact of solidarity becomes a vital lifeline. You observe the subtle ways your world has changed. The old paths are overgrown. Some huts are crumbling, their thatch collapsing, silent monuments to those who once lived there. The once vibrant communal spaces, like the village green, are quieter, emptier. Yet, in the places where life persists, there is a quiet determination. You see a neighbor mending a fishing net, another weaving new cloth from scavenged wool. These small acts of creation, born of necessity, are beacons of enduring human spirit. The sounds of the outside world are still rare, but when they come, they carry a new significance. The distant barking of dogs from another village, the faint sound of a cart on a distant road. You listen intently, trying to discern if they signify a new threat, or simply the slow, tentative stirrings of a world beginning to recover. You notice the changes in your own body. You are leaner, tougher. Your senses are sharper. You can smell rain before it falls, hear a distant animal before it's visible. Your connection to the natural world has deepened, born of absolute necessity. You live by its rhythms, its demands. The memories of the plague remain, a dark shadow lingering at the edges of your consciousness. You remember the faces, the names, the sheer terror. You remember the desperate prayers, the abandoned bodies. This experience has irrevocably changed you, leaving an indelible mark on your soul. You carry the grief, the trauma, the constant awareness of how easily life can be snatched away. Yet despite the weight of this memory, a new kind of quiet strength has grown within you. You have faced the worst, endured the unimaginable, and you are still here. This knowledge, however grim, gives you a profound, unshakable sense of resilience. You know now what you are capable of enduring. As summer draws to a close, the crops ripen. The fields, though smaller than before, are now a vibrant green, interspersed with the golden hues of ripening grain. The air smells of earth and growing things, a sweet, fulfilling scent. This is the culmination of months of relentless labor, of constant vigilance, of fragile hope. The harvest begins, a frantic period of intense labor. Every hand is needed. You work from dawn until dusk, cutting the grain with a hand sickle, binding it into sheaves. Your back aches, your muscles scream in protest, but you push through the pain, driven by the knowledge that this is your family's winter sustenance. The sun beats down, relentless, but the urgency of the task overrides all discomfort. The sounds of the harvest are different now too. There are fewer voices, but the rhythmic swish of sickles, the rustle of dry stalks, the occasional grunting of effort, create a new kind of music. It's the sound of survival, of a community clinging to life with every ounce of its being. As the days shorten and the air grows crisp, the last of the harvest is brought in. The small granary in the village, though far from full, holds enough to see you through the winter, if you are careful. A profound sense of relief washes over you. You have done it. You have survived another cycle. The small harvest feast is a quiet affair, a meal of gratitude rather than celebration. The pottage is thicker, the bread perhaps a little more plentiful. There is no music, no boisterous revelry, but there is a deep, shared sense of accomplishment. You eat slowly, savoring every bite, knowing the immense effort that went into producing it. You look at your family, their faces glowing in the firelight, and a quiet sense of contentment settles over you. The world is forever changed. The great cataclysm of the plague, followed by the chaos and lawlessness, has reshaped the landscape of human existence. The population is decimated. The old order is broken. But life, stubborn and resilient, persists. And you, a simple peasant, are a testament to that enduring human spirit. Forever marked by the worst decade, yet still clinging to the thread of existence, one quiet, determined breath at a time. The air grows steadily colder now, a crisp, sharp bite that signals the full arrival of autumn. The vibrant greens of summer have faded, giving way to the rich, earthy hues of gold, rust, and brown. The leaves on the trees, once lush and full, now whisper and rustle as the wind sweeps through them, a dry, melancholic sound. You watch them fall, one by one, each descending leaf a gentle reminder of the cycle of life and death. A cycle that feels more profound now, more intimately understood than ever before. Your small hut, your sanctuary, feels cozier now with the season's change. The smoke from the hearth, a constant presence, offers not just warmth but a comforting aroma of wood burning, of sustenance. You spend more time indoors, out of the biting wind, preparing for the lean months ahead. The small, precious stores of dried grain, preserved vegetables, and perhaps a small amount of smoked meat from a lucky hunt, are meticulously counted, carefully guarded. Every crumb is important, every portion measured. The days shorten dramatically, drawing the darkness in earlier. The chill that settles in the evenings is deep, pervasive. You huddle closer to the fire, its flickering light casting dancing shadows on the rough-hewn walls. The silence of the night is profound, broken only by the crackle of the flames, the soft breathing of your family, and the occasional mournful howl of a distant wolf. A sound that sends a shiver down your spine, but no longer evokes the sheer terror it once did. You are accustomed to the wilderness, to its constant presence, its demands. Your children, though still thin, seem stronger now than they were at the height of the plague. They cling to the warmth of the hearth, their eyes bright with the innocent curiosity that even the harshest world cannot entirely extinguish. You tell them stories, simple tales of animals and nature, or whispered memories of a time before, a time of plenty, a time that feels almost mythical now. These stories, passed down through generations, become even more vital now, a way to connect them to a past that is rapidly fading. The village itself, though reduced to a fraction of its former size, has settled into a new, quieter rhythm. There are fewer voices, fewer footsteps, but the sounds that remain carry a deeper significance. The rhythmic thud of an axe chopping firewood, the creak of a hand loom from a neighbor's hut, the faint murmur of voices from the well. These are the sounds of persistence, of life stubbornly refusing to yield. You spend your days ensuring your hut is secure against the coming winter. You patch any drafts in the walls with fresh mud and straw, carefully inspect the thatched roof for leaks. Every repair is a small act of self-preservation, a defiant effort to keep the harsh world at bay. You gather more firewood than ever, piling it high against the outside wall of your hut, a visible sign of preparedness, a small comfort against the chilling dread of cold. The hunger, though less acute than during the hungry gap of spring, is a constant, dull ache. You eat sparingly, making each portion last. Your body has adapted, becoming more efficient with less. You are leaner, more wiry, your muscles hardened by constant toil. Your face is etched with the lines of hardship and worry. Your eyes hold a deep, knowing weariness. But there is also a quiet strength there, a deep well of resilience forged in the fires of survival. You reflect on the sheer loss that has occurred, the faces that are gone, the laughter that is silenced, the skills that are lost forever. The village once had a skilled carpenter, a gifted potter, a vibrant storyteller. Now, those roles are vacant, their knowledge lost with them. It means you must learn new ways, adapt to doing things for yourself, or do without. It's a stark lesson in the fragility of knowledge and community. The concept of a functioning society outside your village seems a distant memory. The Lord's Manor, largely abandoned, stands as a silent monument to a vanished order. The roads are less traveled, making trade and communication rare. You hear occasional rumors from passing peddlers, tales of other villages devastated, of widespread lawlessness, of powerful lords fighting over depleted lands. The world outside feels vast and dangerous, a chaotic wilderness. Your small, struggling village is an isolated island in a sea of uncertainty. Religion continues to be a pillar of your existence, though its interpretation has shifted. The priest, if he survived, is now often as lost and questioning as his flock. Sermons are less about grand pronouncements and more about simple prayers for deliverance, for strength, for mercy. The awe once inspired by the church's authority has been replaced by a more desperate, personal faith. You pray not just for your soul, but for the very survival of your body, for the continuation of your family line. The fear of God's wrath is still present, but so is a deep, raw plea for understanding, for an end to the suffering. The approach of winter brings a new layer of anxiety. You know its harshness, its unforgiving nature. The thought of the freezing cold, the endless dark nights, the dwindling food supplies, weighs heavily on your mind. You stack more firewood, gather more insulation for the hut, anything to prepare for the inevitable. You try to push the grim thoughts away, to focus on the immediate tasks, but the shadow of winter looms large. You spend more time with your family, appreciating their presence. You mend their clothes, patching holes with salvaged scraps of fabric. You sharpen your tools, preparing for the next cycle of labor. Every act is a testament to your commitment to their survival, to the preservation of this small, precious unit of humanity. One evening, as a cold rain begins to fall, turning the paths to mud, you sit by the fire, listening to the soft, even breathing of your sleeping children. Your wife is weaving, her hands moving with practiced rhythm, turning rough wool into a serviceable blanket. The silence is broken only by the crackle of the fire and the gentle click-clack of her loom. In this moment, despite all the hardship, there is a profound sense of peace. It is a quiet, fragile peace, born not of abundance but of enduring, of simply being. You watch the rain outside, its steady drumming on the thatched roof, a monotonous lullaby. The world is dark and cold, but inside your small hut there is warmth, there is life, there is family. This is what you fight for. This is what gives you strength. As the rain continues, a deep weariness washes over you. Not just physical exhaustion, but a weariness of the spirit. The constant vigilance, the perpetual fear, the unending struggle for survival, it takes its toll. You long for a time when life was simpler, when the greatest worry was a poor harvest, not the death of half your village. But that time is gone, perhaps forever. You accept this new reality. This is your life now. A life of perpetual struggle, of quiet resilience, of finding small moments of grace amidst overwhelming hardship. You have learned to live with less, to expect less, and to appreciate what little you have with a fierce, unwavering gratitude. The decade is slowly drawing to a close. The initial furious onslaught of the plague has passed, leaving behind a scarred, depopulated landscape. The immediate chaos of lawlessness has begun to settle, replaced by a grim, localized struggle for survival. The worst of the dying is over, but the aftermath is a new, prolonged battle against a changed world. The population of Europe, once thriving, is now drastically reduced. Villages like yours are mere shadows of their former selves. The empty fields, the silent roads, the crumbling structures are constant reminders of the scale of the catastrophe. But for those who remain, there is a new reality. Land, once scarce, is now abundant. Labor, once cheap, is now incredibly valuable. This shift, though born of immense suffering, will slowly, gradually, begin to change the social fabric of the world, laying the groundwork for a future that none of you can yet imagine. But for now, these larger societal shifts are abstract, distant. Your world remains intensely personal. It is the immediate need for food, for warmth, for the protection of your family. It is the simple act of breathing, day after day, year after year, in a world that has tried to suffocate you. You close your eyes, listening to the gentle sounds of your hut, the warmth of the fire, the soft breathing of your loved ones, the steady patter of rain outside. These are the sounds of your survival, the quiet melody of a life lived on the very edge of existence. You are a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit, a survivor of the worst decade to be alive. As the mid-14th century slowly recedes, replaced by the grim realities of the latter half of the decade, a fragile new normal begins to settle over your village. The immediate terror of the plague has lessened, its furious wave having passed, but the world it left behind is forever scarred. The air no longer carries the sickening sweetness of pervasive death, yet the echoes of absence are everywhere. The silence is not merely a quiet, it is the deep, profound hush of a world diminished. You continue your daily existence, driven by the primal urge to survive. The rhythm of your days is simpler now, stripped of many of the complexities and social obligations that defined life before the plague. Your world has contracted, focused inward on your immediate family and the few remaining souls in your village. Every sunrise is a victory, every sunset a testament to another day endured. The fields, though still vast and undercultivated, begin to show faint signs of slow recovery. With fewer mouths to feed, the pressure on the land is eased. You and your neighbors, though fewer in number, tend your strips with a renewed intensity, knowing that every grain harvested is a direct contribution to your family's survival. The earth, in its stoic patience, begins to yield more abundantly for the reduced population, a harsh silver lining born from unimaginable loss. Your body, once constantly aching, begins to find a new equilibrium. You are lean, tough, and resilient. The constant exertion has forged you into a living testament to human endurance. Your hands, perpetually calloused and ingrained with earth, move with an unconscious efficiency. performing tasks that have become second nature. You are a creature of the earth, connected to its rhythms, its demands. The children who survived are growing. They carry the memories of the plague in their eyes, a solemnity that belies their young age, but they also embody the stubborn optimism of youth. They play quieter games, but they play. They learn quickly, absorbing the practical skills of survival from you and your wife. They understand scarcity, the value of a warm fire, the preciousness of a full stomach. Their resilience is a quiet miracle, a source of profound hope for you. News from the outside world, though still rare, occasionally reaches your isolated village. Merchants braving the dangerous, sparsely traveled roads bring whispered tales of other regions. Some areas are still struggling, ravaged by ongoing outbreaks or rampant banditry. Others, however, are slowly beginning to rebuild. Their populations too greatly reduced, but their societies starting to reform in new ways. You hear of increased demand for labor, of higher wages for those who survived, concepts that seem distant from your own immediate struggle, yet they hint at a future where your efforts might one day be valued differently. The old feudal system, which had defined centuries of European life, is irrevocably shaken. With so many laborers gone, the surviving peasants hold a newfound, if often unacknowledged, power. Lords, if they survived and returned, find themselves desperate for workers to till their lands. The rigid social hierarchy, once seemingly immutable, is beginning to crack, sowing the seeds for profound changes in the coming decades. For you, a simple peasant, this means less direct oppression. Fewer demands for your labor on the Lord's domain. Your primary responsibility remains feeding your own family, a freedom born from the very depth of catastrophe. Winter returns, as it always does, but it holds less terror than the one you endured in the plague's immediate aftermath. Your stores are more secure, your hut better prepared. The lessons of survival, etched into your very being, serve you well. You conserve energy, mend what needs mending, and find comfort in the warmth of your hearth. The long dark nights are still a period of quiet endurance, but they are no longer dominated by sheer panic. You sit by the fire, listening to the wind howl outside, feeling the warmth spread through your tired limbs. You remember the faces of those who perished, their memories forever woven into the fabric of your life. The grief is still there, a dull ache beneath the surface, but it has softened into a quiet melancholy. You honor their memory not with grand gestures, but with the simple act of living, of continuing the work they can no longer do. The community, small as it is, has forged an unbreakable bond. The survivors are a testament to resilience, their shared ordeal a silent language between them. You help each other, share what little you have, offer quiet companionship in the face of enduring hardship. There is a profound sense of shared humanity, a deep understanding that you are all in this together, facing an uncertain future. You watch your wife, her face lined with the burdens of these years, yet her eyes hold a quiet strength. You see the subtle changes in her, the deepening of her resolve, the unwavering devotion to your family. You are partners in survival, each relying on the other for strength and comfort. The love you share has been tested by the crucible of plague and famine, and it has emerged tempered and unbreakable. The whispers of the outside world, once terrifying, now begin to carry faint glimmers of rebuilding. Towns, though still struggling, are slowly re-establishing their markets. Trade routes are tentatively reopening. It's a slow, arduous process, but the very act of seeking connection, of attempting to re-establish the broken threads of society, is a powerful sign. You hear of others like you, peasants who survived, some of whom are now able to demand better terms for their labor or even to acquire small plots of abandoned land. The old world, where your destiny was entirely dictated by your birth and your lord, is slowly, irrevocably shifting. You don't fully understand the vast implications of these changes, but you feel the subtle currents beneath your feet, the faint tremble of a world in transition. As the decade truly draws to a close, a fragile sense of permanence begins to settle. The immediate crisis has passed. The world, though profoundly changed, has not ended. Life has found a way to persist, to adapt, to reassert itself in the face of unimaginable devastation. You step outside your hut on a crisp morning. The sun, pale but clear, casts long shadows across the fallow fields. The air is cold, but clean, free from the lingering scent of death. You look out at the landscape, at the empty plots where houses once stood, at the overgrown paths that lead to nowhere. It is a landscape of ghosts, a silent memorial to a time of unimaginable suffering. But then your gaze falls on the small, cultivated plots where your family's next harvest will grow. You see the faint green of winter wheat, stubbornly pushing through the cold earth. You see your children playing quietly near the well, their laughter, though subdued, a welcome sound in the stillness. You feel the weight of your hoe in your hand, a familiar comfort. It is a simple tool, but it is the means of your survival, your connection to the earth that sustains you. You have faced the worst of humanity's trials, plague, famine, lawlessness, and you have emerged. You are a survivor, a living testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity. The world is still harsh, still demanding. The future remains uncertain, but you have learned to live with uncertainty. You have learned to find strength in silence, resilience in routine, and profound joy in the smallest blessings. You walk forward, one slow, deliberate step at a time, into the quiet, reshaped world. The worst decade is behind you, but its lessons will remain with you, woven into the very fabric of your being, guiding your every breath in the new, quieter dawn.